I've been meaning to make this pedal board for a really long time. And when I say a really long time, I mean a really long time. I think it was back in 2010 when I first fell in love with the concept of pedals, and that's actually when I first discovered pedals, and I got this, the Boss SD1, which is my first pedal. And the reason for getting this was, well, there was no reason really. I just wanted an overdrive pedal. I recently discovered what pedals were and what they did, and I just wanted an overdrive pedal, and I got this. And ever since then, I've sort of mentally created this collection of pedals that I thought I would that I would put on my board whenever I have one, basically. And over the years, I kept like logs of like what different pedals came out, what they did, and what they sounded like, and what creative use they've had on the pedal board, and all that stuff. And it was just trying to get that perfect pedal board put together in my head and see what it sounded like, right? But today, I finally finished building my first pedal board. And is this my dream pedal board? Absolutely not. But it's definitely the pedal board that I need and not the pedal board that I want, because this is the board that will allow me and is allowing me to create pretty much every possible tone that I could think of that I would use for both Embers and Snow, for Petty Never Grew, both of my acts, and even for like sound designing, writing for films and stuff. Like when especially when I'm using guitars for, for films or documentaries or anything really. And I feel like this is the board that will kind of get me through all of that. So yeah, and all of these pedals I've watched over the years. I've kind of like gone through what they sound like, and I've tried them out, and they're here for a reason, and very specific reasons, to be honest. And this video is going to be about running through the entire pedal board and giving you a taste of what I could do with these 7 pedals that I've got here. Okay, so the signal flow is very straightforward. The first of the chain is the Keeley compressor, which is going into the Benson Preamp, from the Benson Preamp to the Walrus Melee, from the Melee to Julia to Walrus ACS1, which is my amp sim, and from the ACS1 it's going into the Echosystem, and from the Ecosystem to the Keeley Caverns, which is my reverb. So it's simple: compressor, overdrive, or dirt, chorus, amp sim, delay, and then reverb. So all my dirt pedals, the compression and the chorus is coming into my amp, which is the Walrus ACS1. And from there, it's going into the Empress, Echosystem, and then into the reverb Keeley Caverns. Straightforward, nothing too fancy. I know a lot of people might have questions about signal flow and the choice of effects, and before the amp itself. The reason being is that I personally love chorus pedals before the amp. I like how they sound going into the amp as opposed to the effects loop or after the amp, because I feel like after the amp or in the effects loop, it just gets a little too clean, too crisp, and I don't really like that. I mean, that's just my sonic preference, really. So I just like the chorus going into the amp. And also something that's interesting with chorus is, so other than being a modulation pedal, when I run my drives, and if they're a little too hot, I can actually use chorus a little tastefully to kind of like curve a little bit of the top end, so it just makes it sound rounder and warmer. So that's basically the whole philosophy behind it. That being said, let's just check out what it sounds like, clean completely, without any effect except for the ACS1, which is my amp sim, so obviously it has to stay on all the time. And I'm using the Fender amp and cab, or the Fender, I think it's based off of a 68 deluxe reverb, a custom deluxe reverb model, I think, or that's what it said. It's basically a Fender amp. That's the model that I'm using because it just gives me a lot more headroom, and that's the sound that I like. So here it is, clean, playing through my PRS hollow body into the pedal directly with just the amp sim on the bridge pickup, and this is what it sounds like. So that was just clean going into the amp without any effects. With the compression, this is what it sounds like. And the compression is just basically adding a little bit of tightness to my playing, especially for lead figures or sometimes like, you know, rhythms that needs a bit of consistency. So it's just mostly because of that. And prior to this board, it used to stay on all the time, but now I just switch it off or on based on when I need it. So that's the compression. Let's move on to arguably one of my most favorite pedals on the board, which is this Benson Preamp. And it's they call it a preamp because it's apparently based off of an amp that Benson made. They're primarily an amp company, and this is basically based off one of their 30-watt tube amps, and the circuitry is basically inside it, but instead of tubes, they're using transistors. So it's literally an amp in a box, minus the cab, but you can use it as an overdrive pedal, and this is what the Benson sounds like in my setup. So yeah, that's the Benson Pre. I absolutely love this pedal. It's so transparent, and it's just got the right grit and exactly the kind of exactly the feeling I would expect while playing through a good overdrive pedal, and something that really translates the way that I'm just, I'm picking at the guitar and I'm, going across the fretboard. And then next is one of my other favorite pedals. This is what they call online like a shoegaze machine, but this is a distortion and reverb pedal built into one, and it's amazing. So here's the little demo of what it sounds like. This is a cool thing. This is a distortion reverb. You can hear the reverb as well, and there's like a bunch of settings there where you can basically, if I flip that changes the circuitry, so that means the reverb is going into the distortion now, and the previous circuit you heard the distortion going into the reverb. So with the reverb into distortion, this is what it sounds like. yeah, that's what it sounds like with the circuitry flipped. And the decay is, there's a decay setting, there is a tone setting, and with this joystick you can control the level of distortion and the level of reverb. So that's basically what this pedal's about. And then followed right after is the Julia, which is a chorus pedal. I have it. You can switch between 3 modes here. You can either have detune or chorus or a vibrato or a vibrolo or a vibe. Just you could just call it a vibe. So I have it set somewhere between a chorus and a vibes, and this is what it sounds like. So yeah, and that's the Julia V2, also by Walrus Audio. I've got like 3 Walrus Audio pedals. I just love their pedals a lot, not because they look cool, but they also sound fantastic, and they pretty much cater to the palette of sound that appeals to me in particular. So I just got all of these, and then the next up is the Empress Effects Echosystem. So this is a very complicated pedal, but the bottom line, just to give it a summary, so this runs on something called a dual engine. So that means over here there are like a bunch of delay modes that you can set, and you can basically you can kind of either run the pedal on a single engine or a dual engine. So what it does is basically it can have either one delay running, or it can have 2 different delays running at the same time. So you can either run them in parallel, or you can run them in series. That means one feeding into the other, or both of them running on top of each other separately, unaffected and independently. So I've got, and you can save presets onto this, and I think you can save I think there are about 5 banks or 6 banks, so you can save like at least good 30 to 35 presets. I have 5 selected, so I'm just gonna play through the 5 presets I'm using for now. I might expand later, but the first preset that I have over here, it's running on a single engine, and it's a digital delay with I think running dotted 8s if I'm not mistaken, and this is what it sounds like. So very simple stuff, nothing too complicated. It's just it just gives you that classic U2 delay vibe right away, and obviously the tap helps. So with the next preset I have over here is basically a dual engine. So this is using a digital delay and something called ambient, which is basically ambience. So, and this is what it sounds like. So this is based off of a quarter note delay. So this is what it sounds like. Simple stuff, just a bit of presence. I just wanted to have something that's more regular, like on time delay rather than the dotted 8s. So that's why I have this patch with just a little sense of space. The third one is a reverse delay patch with delay plus reverb patch. So there's a reverse delay which is dominating, and the delay plus reverb engine is a little underneath, and this is what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. It's just really nice. And the fourth one is actually, it's two delays running once again side by side. This is a digital delay on top of an analog delay, and the reason I got this is so that I can play rhythms, and especially when I'm playing solo, I can just have this as like a rhythmic bed and make it sound interesting rather than just playing boring, you know, chords. And this is what it sounds like. So just rhythmic bounces makes it interesting, and yeah, it's straightforward stuff. And the last one is one of my favorites. This is something that I made using this preset, this engine called Whiskey. And what it does, it takes your sound and it just shatters it into micro samples and just makes it sound really cool. And this is what it sounds like. Very interesting stuff. And pair that with the reverb. For the reverb here, I've got something very simple. I do have a delay with my reverb pedal as well, so this is just a slap delay. It's just basic slap delays. So this is just to add a bit of sense of space, that's it, nothing much. But the reverb over here that I have, it's kind of exaggerated. The mix is all the way up, the decay's turned up. I'm using shimmer here, so I can go between shimmer or spring or modulated modes, but I'm using shimmer here for most parts. So with the shimmer on. And that's basically it. So if I switch to the spring mode, this is what it sounds like. You can hear a bit of the spring sizzle in there as well. And coupling it with the Whiskey preset, it just sounds absolutely gorgeous. So, hope you like that demo, and yeah, I'm really excited I'm actually really excited to do shows with this pedalboard, as well as put it to a lot more use than I am already using it for. And before we close this video off, enjoy this little piece that I've put together using the sounds and some of the components that you have heard during the demo. Enjoy, and thank you for watching. you.